Good morning, all. It's 10 a.m. on Tuesday, February 18th. This is Training Wheels. It's an hour-long gathering offered by an open door, Cindy Krupp's Open Door, in which we gather just about every day of the week to speak with each other, to be each other's students and teachers, um, seeking the truth. Knowing the truth. The truth doesn't need to be sought. We know the truth together in these meetings. Today is Training Wheels, and we are on lesson 21. So I'm going to read through the lessons, and then we'll just engage in a little bit of dialogue, a little bit of talk, and we will we'll see what comes up, what happens in these. So take your seat and feel your butt in the chair, feel your feet on the floor. Just be here now, be present. I'm sure people will be joining us as we go through, but just settle in. Nothing I see means anything. I have given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. I do not understand anything I see. These thoughts do not mean anything. I'm upset, or I am never upset for the reasons I think. I'm upset because I see something that isn't there. I see only the past. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see nothing as it is now. My thoughts do not mean anything. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. A meaningless world engenders fear. God did not create a meaningless world. My thoughts are images I have made. I have no neutral thoughts. I see no neutral things. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am determined to see. In today's lesson, lesson 21, I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. According to my family lore, my sister had a childhood habit of sharing biscuits with our dog, Joe. She would take a bite and then give a bite to Joe. Joe is a beautiful golden cocker spaniel. My parents thought it was cute at first, but one morning they decided my sister had enough dog biscuits and they decided they would put an end to it. So they told her to stop. But with the quick reasoning of a very precocious 2-year-old, my sister decided that if she could not see my parents, they could not see her. So she put her hand over her eyes, and with the other hand, she continued reaching into the box of dog biscuits, taking a bite herself, and then sharing with Joe. I love this story for so many reasons. A child's delight in the company of her dog, the gentleness of Joe, who patiently waits his turn, and the sheer joy of sharing between two species. But it's also a clear example of how the split mind works. Ego believes in separation, which means separate thoughts, separate seeing, and separate causes and effects. The ego operates on the level of a precocious 2-year-old child, with its belief that each one of us can hide our thoughts, our feelings, our seeings, and our experience from each other. We simply cover our eyes with one hand, and with the other hand, we continue doing what we want to do, thinking no one notices. In other words, we say, if I can't see you, you can't see me, nor can Source. It's not true, wasn't true then, and it's not true now. It's time to lift the veil and to remove our hands from our eyes. When the veil is lifted, we take our hand away from our eyes. This is what we see. God is one, so there's nothing that is not God, nor is there anything you and I can truly hide from each other. When I lift the veil, I see that all viewpoints are true to the viewer. However, unless I also see my oneness with you, I will be unable to reconcile our different viewpoints. Seeing oneness doesn't mean covering my eyes and assuming that everyone sees just what I see. It means opening my eyes and allowing that what is unique is still joined at the level above the self, the small self, in what Cindy calls the upper room. It's true that each of us is unique, but we also share eternal consciousness in the big self, in the oneness. Seeing this shared eternal consciousness is the next step in our evolution as spiritual beings, living in seemingly separate bodies. If we're to have peace, if we are to know peace, if we are to be peace, this way of seeing is essential. It cannot not be. It is time to lift the veil. There's no getting around it. Today's 5 practice sessions should last about a minute or so. Begin by taking your seat and closing your eyes, and relax into your body as you are right now, and gently place your awareness on the breath. Always let the breath be exactly what it is. It's your own personal centering device. Just place awareness on it and breathe naturally. Feel your whole body settle with the breath. Let your whole body soften. And when you're ready in your mind, just say to yourself, I am determined to see things differently. And then gently allow anything that comes up to come up. It could be a bodily discomfort. It could be a personal situation. It could be something that's in the news. It doesn't matter. There's no difference between upsets. They're all the same. They all come from the same source. They all originate from the same place. So just take a moment and be with whatever comes up. Let it touch you, but don't go down the rabbit hole with it. Don't worry about what it is. Don't try to define it. Don't do anything with it. Spend no energy with it. Just let it come up, let it arise, let it touch you, and then say in your mind, I am determined to see things differently. I'm determined to see this situation, this person, whatever it is, differently. Don't worry about what that difference is. Don't worry about fixing anything or correcting anything. Just open yourself to seeing things differently. That's it. That's all this lesson is. You might say, I'm determined to see Fred differently, or I'm determined to see the broken computer differently, or I'm determined to see the cold weather differently. Again, don't put any effort into seeing the person or situation in a different light. Just be present with the words and allow the shift to happen naturally. Say the words and have your experience with it. All we're doing now is making a statement about self-determination, not forcing change before it's time, not making anything happen, not being the doer, just saying the words and then resting in whatever arises. End your sessions today. I'm going to do 5 for 1 minute a day, 5 sessions for 1 minute. End them by just repeating the lesson. I am determined to see things differently. And noticing how it feels in the heart and in the body to say those words. And again, if you forget to practice, guess what? It's another opportunity to forgive yourself. If you forget to practice, or if you find yourself judging something or resisting something, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just another opportunity. I'm determined to see this differently. And remember, a little willingness is all that's needed. I am determined to see things differently. That's our lesson. How does that land for you? David says, I am determined to see things without judgment, just as they are. Yes. But even if we do judge, let the judgment come up. Right? Don't judge the judgment, right, David? Right. Right. Not going to get into self-recrimination. Right? Just notice it. Cindy, come to the head of the table.
So, I don't pay attention to what we're going to talk about before we come here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my topic of my dyad, um, my intention for the dyad, but it showed up in my dyad. So I want to read some of what came up in my contemplation today. It feels like it was in preparation for this conversation. That's okay.
Sure.
Not a lot. So I wrote, thank you for the dyad and for this question. What separates seeing from being seen? The acceptance that the truth lies outside the intellect. And yeah, I spent time with Moji this morning too. For whom is there a separation between seeing and being seen? Please heal the fear-based thoughts that keep aspects of Cindy in darkness. Let no secrets be hid. There is a yearning to be known, to be seen, acknowledged, to be loved. Is it all the same? Where is the split between loving another and being loved? What wants knowledge but turns away from being known? Where is the one who insists she is not you? But it's just this general question that this intellect can't answer. What is the difference between seeing and being seen? And I could see how here, anyway, I'm very good at projecting out love, being present for another, um, receiving other people's teachings and holding it. But the idea of turning in and allowing others to see the inner parts, or even allowing God to see me, to know me, to be known, is something that creates a lot of fear in here, or the knowledge of fear in here. So that's the question that came up, that there's no intellectual answer for here. What is the difference between seeing and being seen? That's the question that showed up in my space. I don't feel like I've ever seen that question before. But anyway, I'm just adding that to whatever we're doing here.
Thank you. I want to call David into, but before I do, David, I just want to uh, put this out there. This lesson, I'm determined to see things differently, operates multi-dimensionally. So it's not just to see the other person differently. It's not just to see myself differently. It's to see time differently. It's to see the material world differently. It's to see my emotional body differently, my mental body differently, the universe differently. This lesson functions at all levels. And I want to talk more about that in a minute, but let's bring David in and come on in,
Thank
David.
you. I've been thinking a lot lately about circular logic. And I remember back in the day, circular logic was like a no-no. I mean, I think that was because, I was so hung up on linear logic, and so circular logic is like an affront or an attack on that. But these days, it seems like circular logic makes so much more sense. I mean, it's like, like Cindy was talking about the fact, seeing and being seen. It's like, it's all the same, and everything comes back to everything else. In other words, there's no end to everything. So if there's no end, the object, or to me, that would mean that must be everything is circular, because it's, everything is one. Logic is one. The reality is one. We are one. There's, to me, there's nothing that isn't. And so it seems very comforting that, whatever I put out there comes back. It's, like the boomerang, and whatever is up, and it's just, and it all, it's, nothing is ever lost, and everything is in play all the time, and I find that very comforting. So
Wow, that's another poem, David, right there.
yeah,
You
yeah, I
know,
know.
it's a beautiful recollection. I remember being denigrated for having circular logic. That was something that, females did.
Mm-hmm.
Circular
Mm-hmm.
logic, right? Stupid, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's why we don't have any decent women philosophers, right? Because women just have circular logic.
It's so interesting. Everything that wasn't is. It's like a Beatles song. Everything, or Bob Dylan, or everybody, all those good philosophers. Everything it was is, and everything it is was, and it just keeps on. It just keeps on revolving.
Yeah, it's like the infinity symbol, right? It just keeps coming back. Or
Mm-hmm.
Jung's what is it? It's levels of differentiation and individuation, where you just keep bringing in more and more and rising up and up and up in an ever circular pattern.
And I keep always referring to songs and singers, and that one is Arlo Guthrie in Alice's Restaurant, when he's waiting for the chorus to come, or waiting for the chorus to come back again. He says, "Just wait a little while; it'll come back in a minute."
Exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, I want to throw something out there. There's a quote from a course called "Ideas need leave not their source. Ideas
Mhm.
leave not their source." And that is really a lesson, or a quote worth exploring in this lesson. And some of you probably have already figured this out, but it just came to me in a realization that I've not really had at the depth that I have before. That is, everything that we see is an idea. Everything. That means this pen is an idea. It isn't anything. Material form is an idea. Your entire body is an idea. There is nothing in material form that's real. Nothing. It's all ultimately only an idea. That's the difference between making and creating. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, right? Ideas leave not their source. We are an idea in source. We are of source, as source, exactly the same. We are never separated from source. But this pen is made. It's limited by its very making. It is an idea, but it's an idea from a mind that has forgotten its creative oneness. So it's made through replication of thought. It's not made through creative source. Do you folks understand what I'm saying? I'm sorry if I'm not being very clear. Okay. We make and make and make and make. So we make a pen and we make a bowl and we think they're different. They're not different, right? They're all made from the idea of separation. Ideas leave not their source. These are all the same idea of separation. And that gets back to Cindy's point. What's the difference between what I see in me and what I see you? That's just making. True creation is love. What's behind these two, the creative power behind these two, is the oneness. But we are sitting in this world with a hand over our eyes and feeding the dog biscuit to Joe and then taking a bite ourselves and thinking that we're separate. We spend our whole lives doing that. We spend multiple lives doing that. We go into near-death experiences and we think it's just a continuation. We think Jesus is out there. Oh, Jesus, holy Jesus, there he is. He even looks like he does in the picture on the wall, right? But boy, I feel that love. I feel that love. That's the only thing that's real in that near-death experience is the love. Cindy, come to the head of the table. Can you see I feel strongly about this?
Who else loves Amy's passion?
I have the passion. I have the passion.
That was
So-
fabulous.
What I've been, again, from the guides inform, they don't change what I'm doing, but they're informing and expanding. And one of the things that I've been looking at, we often talk about who is the I and what is, they're helping me come to a new understanding of the human collective consciousness. Human collective consciousness agrees that this is a pen, right? And then I got Francis in my head saying, truth is not a democracy. It was actually part of today's writing too. So they have stated that the human collective consciousness for the thousands of years, if you from a linear time point, has agreed to fear as a basis for experience. And it's very, very hypnotic and enticing to continue as an individual to agree with the human collective consciousness. And our work in these rooms is to choose to step out of that agreement and allow for something else, to see from a different level. It's very, but when I sit in this recognition that it's not Cindy that's making the pen, or even Cindy that has made these things. There's a human collective consciousness that is moving together to create this experience, and the Cindy individuation has the opportunity to rise above. Now I have Richard talking about rising above the battleground or going to the upper room. It doesn't matter. I can stand still within these communities that say, wait a minute, the collective consciousness doesn't make sense. So I'm standing still with my quote unquote mighty companions and saying, what I can decide that this fear thing maybe isn't true. And what happens if I ask for something else? And then from an individuation, I can step into another room or a higher vibration. And I over and over and over again, I'm seeing the stickiness of the collective attempting to pull me back. The mass firings keep every day is giving me the opportunity to pull my attention back into. But the other quote or quotes from the guides again is really just a reminder that if I am believing that, I am denying God. And so when I stand still and say, there is a power stronger than the collective agreement to fear, and I'm choosing that over and over and over again until like the tether gets broken to the fear. and something else fills it. That's anyway, I'm speaking and sitting and feeling it, but that's the experience that I'm looking at right now.
Sandra, I'm looking at you. This is another subject for one of our gatherings, is the collective. Because Rupert talks about the collective as well. Even the non-dual teachers talk about the collective. I want to just, I appreciate your bringing that up, Cindy, because I think it's an important concept, but for those of us who are interested in the non-dual teaching, I think it's really important that we maintain and develop and ground ourselves in the understanding, the experience, not the understanding, in the experience that I am awareness. The awareness I am is a straight shot through the collective. It bypasses the collective and takes us straight to the truth. And when we do that, when we engage in that kind of grounding and we stay in that kind of grounding, we change the collective. Right. The collective is changed at the individual level by individuals that understand they are God's being, infinite, impersonal awareness now, and who move from that embodiment. And the collective, Barb, Cindy, all of us who wake in the middle of the night, Alka, we we wake up for some unknown reason and have an unfocused sense of fear. There's nothing to fear. We don't have any specific anxiety. It just arises, right? And that's oftentimes, I think, the collective at work, right? It's just arising to be healed. And it's arising within our field because we can heal it. And that's what we do for the collective, each one of us. Being the embodiment of the I am awareness, knowing I am now infinite, eternal, indivisible. Right. All this world is an idea. I can change my idea at my own level of awareness about what this world is. Everything physical that I think I see is nothing but an idea. What a freedom that is. And what a fertile playground for us to have as embodied beings. As embodied beings to spend time looking at everything that looks solid and knowing it's just an idea. Wow. Livy,
Good morning, everybody.
good morning.
Wonderful conversation. I'm loving this conversation. Um, I have a dear friend of about 50 years who is 65 and has early onset Alzheimer's. And I go sit with her, and she doesn't recognize me anymore. And her husband is doing his best to have her stay at the home. She becomes very anxious because she follows him like a little puppy, and she can get anxious and a little agitated if she doesn't know where he is. And I'm learning that the best thing that I can do, and another thing that's wonderful is he's a musician and I'm a musician, so we play music for her
Mm.
to begin with when I get there. And then as he separates himself to try to do things, I'm learning that the best thing I can do, and I thought about your rose analogy, but the best thing that I can do is just be and not talk. And he has the television going, and I try not to move too much. I just try to be as calm as I can be to be the calm presence for her and to see her as me, and to see the whole thing as me and as source, as coming from source. And I'm learning that, because yesterday I was sitting with her and I was wondering, you know, yeah, it's and I don't want to get too much into thought about it, but just see that she is me and I am her and we are there. And the best thing I can do is and it's a real good practice for me in just being the love that I am and have that extend to her while I'm there. And so it's just an interesting, and a real gift, I think, to be able to be there for her. And so so that has brought up a whole other thing of, talking about the mind and wondering, where is she, and um yeah. And so I look forward to continue just being with her and just see what things evolve from this and to see if she'll ever be truly just comfortable with my presence there and become accustomed to me as being as much a part of her reality as her husband is at the moment. So that's a really it's kind of a wonderful opportunity in learning to being the love that I am and to seeing her as the love that I am. And so it's yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to share this opportunity that I'm having with y'all. And again, I just love this conversation so much. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for helping me in my evolution.
Oh my goodness. What you're doing is amazing. Um, I have a question for you. Uh, when you're with this person, do you sense that she is living in the now?
Um,
Do you think that she has past thoughts, thoughts about the past or thoughts about the future?
I know that she gets fearful if she can't see him. And she seems to be in fear a lot of the time if he isn't within eyeshot. And
But
so
is that fear in the present moment, or is it fear of past, is it past thoughts that are coming forward? Maybe you can't tell.
see, that's what I'm curious to see if I can tell, because at the moment I'm not sure.
I want to,
I love your outfit.
oh God, thank you. I want to find a book for you.
Oh,
I'm gonna find it. Okay, I'm not gonna find it right now, but there's a book written by a guy named Green. It's named after a town in Kansas, like the Okinawa something or other Book of the Dead. He was a famous ESP researcher, and his wife got Alzheimer's, and he took care of her at home for something like 10 years, and he kept a diary.
oh, wow.
And it's really, really interesting. He said she would go in and out. He came in once and she was sitting in the living room and she was looking around, and Alzheimer's and dementia is like the mind is like Swiss cheese. So sometimes there will be moments of lucidity and other times just complete and utter blankness. In her moments of lucidity, she knew who he was, and she would say to him, I'm meeting with so and so. They're right over there. You can't see them. You can't. They're talking to me, and this is what they're saying for you. Her mind was talk about seeing things differently. She was attuned to dimensions and levels of awareness that he wasn't, even though she had Alzheimer's.
Yeah, my friend doesn't talk much at all. And, she'll say yes to everything, just about.
Yep.
But yeah, but I'll look up that book. But yeah.
If I can find it, I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you. Yes, David Barnard. Thank you, David. The Asawaki. I knew it was Book of the Dead. Yes, Asawaki. Thank you. David, have you read it?
I just Googled it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. It
Thank
is really interesting. So thank you, Livy, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Barbara, come to the head of the table.
Yeah. So like I was saying about the dream I had last night, that I was cruel and mean to people, the people I knew and everything. So Dad is telling me that I'm seeing things, that I should be seeing things differently in my awakened life when I'm up, because I shouldn't be cruel and mean to people in my awakened state, not in my sleeping, is it bringing you, I can't explain it, but I think you might know what I mean. That in my sleeping state, it's bringing my attention to what I do in my awakened state, that I shouldn't be mean and cruel to people, even in a passing joke or whatever.
I think what I would say is that if you're being mean and cruel to somebody that you see outside yourself, it's you're being mean and cruel to yourself.
Okay.
I mean, and it's an invitation in the dream to see that.
Okay.
We're never mean and cruel to anyone except ourselves. I mean, if you that understanding is like a magic key. If I'm determined to see things differently, that's one of the determined to see things differently.
So then last night it hit me like I should really start seeing things differently, because it showed me, because I know when I'm asleep, the subconscious rises and everything. So it's showing me that what I should be doing in my awakened state, that I should see things differently.
Who's teaching who in your dream?
I guess my higher self is teaching me what I should be doing in my daily life as a human.
Yeah, and who are you in truth? Your higher self.
Okay, see, I answered myself, but I guess I don't know, but you understand. Thank you.
I do. I do. Hey, congratulations to you for being open and having the question. Good for you. But stay in your knowing of yourself as the higher self. Right? That's the truth. David.
Oh, well, when I was listening to Livy talk about her friend, and it just brought to mind that well, the first thing that came to my mind was, one thing is when my wife Betty was having her global amnesia episodes, and she had no memories, and it was so peaceful and easy to to be with her and talk to her, even though she couldn't remember anything I said. It was almost like I got a get out of jail free card. No matter how badly I screwed it up, she wasn't going to remember, and so that was kind of freeing. But also, I really think, I mean, if I have a superpower, it's be able to communicate without speaking. And I know I like to talk a lot and I like to write stuff down a lot, but I think maybe I'm trying to reach the lost chord of being able to communicate without speaking, which is something I mean, but I can go walk up to somebody and just touch them. I do it at church all the time, and it was just like magic communications, just back and forth, and it's like this, and it's almost like I'll look at this person's eye and we both get it, and it's like, oh my God, look here, there it goes again, and it's like, and one of my favorite things to do at church with this, we had this little boy. I think he's 2 now, but when maybe he was 1, he could just walk just barely, and we'd just sit there and communicate. And it was like we'd look at each other, and it was like, and it doesn't have to be a person. I don't think it could be a tree, or it could be a sunrise, it could be whatever, and I could just sit there and communicate with all these things. I could sit there and talk to a tree if I want to, and the tree will talk back to me. And it's like, there are no words, but I mean that's the blessing. I mean that's the strength of it, is that there are no words needed to communicate in this manner. And I thank you, Livy, for reminding me that I can do that, and it's so good. And I don't know if that'll be something you could. You probably already know that with being with your friend. You probably already know that that's a thing, and so anyway, I appreciate the fact that you reminded me of that, and that's what I have to say about that.
Isn't it kind of the case, David, that we have these certain capabilities or muscles? Some human beings have really great proprioception and they are wonderful athletes. They know where their bodies are in space. Some people have a really good muscle of communication non-verbally, but all of us can develop it, right? That's beautiful. That's something that's great. Good for you. Livy.
No, I
Mhm.
just wanted to share that I didn't read the whole article, but I didn't know if y'all know that scientists now are putting electrodes on infants to try to see if they can tell when consciousness begins or enters into the human. So I thought it's interesting.
Yeah, I did see that. I didn't read it because I'm not sure most scientists really understand when consciousness enters the human. They think consciousness begins in the brain.
Right. That was one of the first things I thought about and at the same time I thought, well, it's interesting that they're getting a hint that the baby, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Hmm. I am determined to see things differently. That's one of the first lessons, right? It's lesson number 21 out of 365. And yet it's a lesson that's an advanced lesson. Right? We can apply that lesson to anything, anytime, anywhere. Because our consciousness is continually expanding. Right? So we can always see more oneness until we get right to the threshold and oneness pulls us in. We are pulled into ourselves. But right up until that very last step, this lesson can be applied. any moment of any separation from anything, I am determined to see things differently. All this is an invitation to open the heart and the mind. That's what this lesson is. Cindy.
I just felt inspired to read this email exchange between Ndego and I, talking about seeing the world in a certain way and seeing things differently. And I'm also inspired to just, as I read it, look to see, what your inner roommate or voice is saying about this exchange, because I always find that interesting when I think another should be experiencing the current moment differently. So this email, the first email I got was just, I love being here. I get those emails from the Dago a lot, but I don't think I'm the only one. I just love, I send out a Sunday email. I get the response. I love being here. So I got that on Monday at 12:11. Oh no. So she said, and then I get an email even before that. Before that, at 11:23, the exchange was on Monday. Hi, everyone, with a lot of exclamation marks. I'm at the hospital. I hurt my ankle. May have broken it from slipping on the ice. I love you. And then I just responded, holding you in my healing heart, sent some hugs. And then at 6:52 this morning, the email was, thank you so much, Cindy, with lots of exclamation marks. It's so amazing how God is always with us, guiding us in everything. More exclamation marks. Such a blessing. Still more exclamation marks. I'm still at the hospital. I'm going to have surgery. I broke 2 bones. More exclamation marks. Like, how exciting. I broke bones. It's just so amazing how God has guided me in everything. Yep, more exclamation marks. Such a gift and a blessing. And I should count the exclamation marks. Um, Sending so much love. Such a blessing to be here. Exclamation marks. I love you. More exclamation marks. My response is just holding you in love and hugs. But in any case, it's interesting, and to be fully transparent, there's a part of the mother energy in here going, holy shit, I don't want Nadega to have broken bones, and why is this happening to her, and blah blah blah. But in this space, I am determined to see things differently. There's this energetic space in that exchange that says, here's what's happening in the world, and ain't God great? That's
I just come back to what David said, which is every word out of Indigo's mouth is a prayer. She is such a teacher. Everything is for me. And I love that she got in touch with you, Cindy. And in getting in touch with you, she says us. So you're like, you represent all of us. I love that. What a beautiful thing. I'm so grateful for that. You know, hmm. Sometimes the beauty is overwhelming. And I think sometimes we don't even know how much aloneness we put up with until someone like Indigo reminds us that we're not alone on the level that she does. And I think that's where the tears start to come. It's like, oh, thank God. I didn't even know I felt that alone. You know, so beautiful. Sandra.
I just wanted to say that the level of energy, someone called it passion, but the bubbling effervescence that's coming through, that's touching me, is so enlivening. I don't know what the word is. It's like I feel the energy is contagious. And it's really beautiful. And that's just in general. And specifically doing these lessons, probably for the third or fourth time with this book, it's just so fresh and touching deeper levels than before. I think there's been a cognitive understanding, but now there's more of a heart understanding. So thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's all of us together. It's all of us together. And we have 3 minutes, and Patricia hasn't said anything, and Alka hasn't said anything, and Kay hasn't, and Kendall is the great silent being in the sky. Rana hasn't really said anything, but if anyone wants to speak, now's your time.
I would like to speak. Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. I thought we were meeting at 9:30 and I missed a half hour and I am so upset. I mean, Mexico time. So now I am really completely sure. So my apologies for being late and oh, what I've missed. Boo-hoo. I'll get over it. I'll just be on time next week. Thank you.
You got all the good parts, baby.
Oh, honey, did I ever? It's wonderful.
Oh,
I love you all.
love you too.
The
And I
replay,
think,
the replay will be up today.
okay, thank you, Cindy.
Barbara?
And Cindy was reading the email. I felt Nandago's excitement. I felt her exuberance. I felt every stutter, every whatever she applies to how she talks. I heard her distinctly, and I love her for it.
I do too. She is like a direct transmission of the Holy Spirit through to all of us. You know, she is functioning at a really high level in some ways, and we pick up on it, and it just makes us so happy. And that happiness is God's being, right? That's God's being. Pay attention to it.
And it's contagious.
It's contagious. We share in it, right? We love it because that's what we are. We're all singing the same song, right? And it never goes, and it's made larger through sharing. See, it's an idea. That's what Indigo is sharing, is the idea. And this is the thing about true creation through idea. You get to keep the idea and give it away. And when you give it away, you see the other person sharing it, and they're enlarged, and then you're enlarged by seeing them be enlarged. And it's a never-ending cycle of love. That's why love always triumphs over fear.
It reminds me of I know there's a Japanese a word for it, the Japanese art farm when vases or some things break and they repair those with material that has gold in it so the gold is shining through in the cracks and just makes it more beautiful than it was perhaps when it was new. But and I'm not going to only in Dago, but when there becomes cracks in our facade, the body we have, the who we are, and what we do, and when there are cracks in there, and those are just to me opportunities for the who we really are, the love and oneness that we really are to shine through those cracks that perhaps become in our body or what I call our facade and shine and just an opportunity for the real us to shine through. And I think
So
that's
true. It's
you
so
know
true. I think that's called aware. I think
yeah
that's what that's called. And I love that concept.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful concept that it's in the imperfection that the perfection is seen. It's very similar to saying we only hear sound in silence, right? It's the
yeah
silence that makes the sound.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah, Ken Wapnick would talk about that, the beauty between the notes, because he was a big Beethoven fan, and he was listening to what was not the notes, but what was between the notes.
Yes. So Kay says, please send Indigo our love. Yes, indeed. And Alka says, I feel so connected to everyone today and us to you, Alka. And Livy says, Indigo's love and excitement is contagious, and I love catching it. Yes. And, David said it's the Owasaki Book of the Dead parts by Elmer Green. It's Elmer Green. And it's not the easiest reading. It's very interesting. A lot of it's in diary form. But he's a really cool cat, Mr. Green is. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but and in Barbara, he loves investigating his dreams. He is an avid dreamer and he really takes note of them. So,
Okay.
well, it's 10:02. As Click and Clack would say, we've wasted another perfectly good hour together. Oh, I really don't want that to go on the recording, but I say that in complete and utter jest. Because remember, this world was created when we forgot to laugh. So bring a little humor into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording, so
Thank
we'll
you.
see what happens next.
All right.